Sutra. The Sanskrit name of this sutra is Vajracchedikā Prajnaparamita Sutra. It means perfection of wisdom which cuts like a thunderbolt. Buddha can cut you like a thunderbolt. He can kill you and help you to be reborn. That is the meaning of Vajracchedikā Prajnaparamita. It cuts like a thunderbolt. In one stroke, it can destroy you. Now the sutras. Thus I have heard, at one time, the Buddha was staying in the Jita grove of the garden of the benefactor of orphans and the solitary, together with a gathering of great bhikshus, 1250 in all. Thus I have heard. Those words are the first of the 6 requirements. It is essential to be familiar with the 6 requirements, which are belief, hearing, time, host, place, and audience. Thus is the requirement of belief. I have heard is the requirement of hearing. At one time is the requirement of time. The Buddha is the requirement of a host. In Sravasti, in the Jita grove of the garden of the benefactor of orphans and the solitary, is the requirements of a place. Together with a gathering of great bhikshus, 1250 in all, is the requirement of an audience. The 6 requirements prove that the sutra was spoken by the Buddha. Now there is an interesting story behind it. It goes like this. When Buddha announced that he was going to enter Nirvana, every one of his disciples cried. Ananda, his cousin, cried the hardest. Tears poured from his eyes and he knew nothing but grief. He cried so hard he forgot everything. Then the venerable Aniruddha, though blind, had the heavenly eye and the heavenly ear. When he heard everyone crying as though they had gone mad, he took Ananda aside and asked, "What are you crying about?" "Ah," wailed Ananda, "the Buddha is going to Nirvana and we will never get to see him again. What do you mean what I am crying about?" The venerable Aniruddha said, "Don't cry. You still have important things to do. Try to straighten up a little." To this Ananda said, "What important things? The Buddha is going to enter Nirvana. What is left for me to do? I want to go with the Buddha." To which Aniruddha said, "That won't do. It is a mistake to talk like that." "Well, what do you want me to do?" Then the venerable Aniruddha said, "There are 4 questions you should ask the Buddha." "What are the 4 questions?" The venerable Aniruddha said, "The first question, after the Buddha enters Nirvana, the sutras should be compiled. What words should we use to begin the sutras? What guides should there be?" Ananda heard that and said, "That's really important. What other questions are there?" The second question, when the Buddha was in the world, we lived with the Buddha. After the Buddha crosses over to extinction, after he enters Nirvana, where should we dwell? Ananda dried his tears and said, "That is also important, right? When the Buddha was in the world, the entire group of 1250 bhikshus lived together with him. Now that he is going to enter Nirvana, where will we live? I should ask them. What's the next question?" The third question, when the Buddha was in the world, the Buddha was our master. Now that he is entering Nirvana, whom should we take as master? And lastly, the fourth question is, when the Buddha was in the world, he could discipline the bad-natured bhikshus. After the Buddha enters Nirvana, who will discipline them? Ananda went straight to the Buddha's room. The Buddha was on the verge of entering Samadhi, and Ananda had no time to waste. "Buddha," he said, "world-honored one, I have some very important problems about which I need your advice. Can you answer me now?" The Buddha already knew that his cousin and youngest disciple was coming to ask questions, and he said, "Certainly I can answer you. What are your problems?" Ananda replied, "These are not my problems. They are the Buddha's problem of the Bodhidharma, problems of all the high masters. I can't solve them, so I have come seeking the Buddha's compassionate wisdom." "All right, speak," said the Buddha. The first question is, after the Buddha enters Nirvana, we want to compile the sutras. What words should we begin them with to show that they are said by the Buddha? The Buddha said, "Use the 4 words, 'Thus I have heard.' The next question is, where should we live? There are so many of us. How will we get along? Where will we dwell?" That's a small problem, said the Buddha. You should dwell in the 4 dwellings of mindfulness. These are contemplation of the body as impure, contemplation of feelings as suffering, contemplation of thought as impermanent, and contemplation of dharmas as devoid of self. The third question, you have been our master, but when you enter Nirvana, who will be our master? The Buddha said, take the Pratimoksha as your master, take the percepts as master. Now the Pratimoksha is the Vinaya, the percepts and rules. And then Ananda said, now we have a master, but among us there are bad-natured bhikshus. While you have been in the world, you have managed them, Buddha. What should we do about them when you are gone? On that, said the Buddha, it's very easy. You should be silent and they will go away. Don't talk to them. After all, aren't they bad and disobedient? Ignore them. Don't speak to them. They will become bored and live on their own. Those are the Buddha's answer to the 4 questions. Now before we move back to the sutras, a thing to be understood is that Buddha is non-ideological. He gives no ideology because all ideologies are of mind. And if ideologies are of the mind, they cannot take you beyond the mind. No ideology can become a bridge to reach beyond the mind. All ideologies have to be dropped. Only then the mind will be dropped. Buddha believes in no ideals either, because all ideals create tension and conflict in man. They divide, they create anguish. The ideological person is continuously fighting with himself. Each moment there is conflict. He lives in conflict, he lives in confusion, because he cannot decide who he really is, the ideal or the reality. He cannot trust himself. He becomes afraid of himself. He loses confidence. And once a man loses confidence, he loses all glory. Then he is ready to become a slave to anybody, to any priest, to any politician. Then he is just ready, waiting to fall into some trap. Buddha has given a non-repressive way of life, and non-ideological too. That's why he doesn't talk about God. He doesn't talk about heaven. He does not talk about any future. He does not give you anything to hold on to. He takes everything away from you. He takes even yourself. He goes on taking things away, and finally he takes even the idea of self, I, ego. He leaves only pure emptiness behind, and this is very difficult. This is very difficult because we have completely forgotten how to give. We only know how to take. Buddha takes all ideals away, the whole future away, and finally he takes the last thing that is very, very difficult for us to give. He takes your very self, leaves a pure, innocent virgin emptiness behind. That virgin emptiness he calls Nirvana. Nirvana is not a goal, it is just your emptiness. When you have dropped all that you have accumulated, when you don't hoard anymore, when you are no longer a miser and a clinger, then suddenly that emptiness erupts. It has always been there, and that's why it is said that from the very beginning, all beings are Buddhas. Buddha teaches you how to live, not for any goal, not to achieve anything, but to be blissful here now. How to live in awareness. Not that awareness is going to give you something. Awareness is not a means to anything, it is the end in itself, the means and the end both. Its value is intrinsic. And so Buddha's whole message is to be conscious. Buddha says, Sama Samadhi is aloneness. Now aloneness doesn't mean loneliness, it means all one. It is made up of 2 words, all and one. In aloneness, you become one with the all. Buddha's whole message is condensed in this one word, Sama Samadhi, right meditation. Now what is right meditation and what is wrong meditation? If the meditator exists, then it is wrong meditation. If the meditator is lost in meditation, then it is right meditation. Right meditation brings you to emptiness and aloneness. Now back to the sutras. Early in the morning, the Lord dressed, put on his cloak, took his bow, and entered the great city of Sravasti to collect alms. When he had eaten and returned from his round, the Lord put away his bowl and cloak, washed his feet, and sat down on the seat arranged for him. Crossing his legs, holding his body upright, and mindfully fixing his attention in front of him. Then many monks approached to where the Lord was, saluted his feet with their heads, thrice walked round him, to the right and lords sat down on one side. Walking thrice is symbolic of the three bodies. The first round is for the physical body, the body that we can see, which is available to the senses. The physical body of the Buddha is also beautiful. It is the shrine where God abides. So the first round is a salutation for the first body, the physical body. The second round is for the bliss body, the second body. And the third round is for the Buddha body, the truth body. These three rounds are symbolic of something else too. In Buddhism, there are three shelters, three refuges. I take refuge in Buddha. I take refuge in Sangha. I take refuge in the Dhamma. These three rounds are symbolic of them too. So the first refuge is in the Buddha, who is just in front of me. The second refuge is in all the Buddhas, the Sangha, the commune of Buddhas, past, present and future. And the third refuge is in the Dhamma, the essential being that makes a man a Buddha. That art of awakening is Dhamma, the religion. At that time, the venerable Subhuti came to that assembly and sat down. Then he rose from his seat, put his upper robe over one shoulder, placed his right knee on the ground, bent forth his folded hands towards the Lord. The ritual performed in requesting Dharma symbolizes the purity of three karmas. First, uncovering the right shoulder and placing the right knee on the ground represents the purity of body karma. Second, placing the palms together respectfully represents the pure mind karma. And lastly, verbalizing the request indicates the karma of the mouth is pure. At that time, the venerable Subhuti came to that assembly and sat down. Then he rose from his seat, put his upper robe over one shoulder, placed his right knee on the ground, bent forth his folded hands towards the Lord, and said to the Lord, "It is wonderful, O Lord, it is exceedingly wonderful, O well gone. How much the bodhisattvas, the great beings, have been helped with the greatest help by the Tathagata. How then, O Lord, should one who has set out in the bodhisattva vehicle stand? How progress, how control the thoughts?" Now Subhuti is almost close to Buddhahood. He is a bodhisattva. Bodhisattva means one who is ready to become a Buddha, who has come almost close to it. One step more and he will become a Buddha. Bodhisattva means Bodhi essence, Bodhi being. So a Bodhisattva is one who is close to Buddhahood, but is trying to remain on this soul a little longer so that he can help people. When Subhuti says, "Oh well gone," he means the one who has gone to the other soul. Subhuti is on this soul, Buddha is on that other soul. Subhuti has come to that understanding. He can see the other soul. He can see Buddha on the other soul. Buddha has said that there are 8 steps towards ultimate meditation. One who has reached the 8 is called well gone. Tathagata is a Buddhist word that means well gone. Now when Subhuti says, "How control the thoughts?" what does he mean? Because a bodhisattva has no thoughts ordinarily, not the thoughts that we have. So there is only one thought, and that thought is of the other soul, and the other soul continuously pulls. The door is open, he can enter into utter bliss, and yet he is holding himself at the door. So what he is asking is how to control these thoughts that continuously push him towards the other soul. After these words, the Lord said to Subhuti, "Therefore, Subhuti, listen well and attentively. Someone who has set out in the vehicle of a bodhisattva should produce a thought in this manner. As many beings as there are in the universe of beings, comprehended under the term beings, all this I must lead to Nirvana, into that realm of Nirvana which leaves nothing behind." Buddha is asking Subhuti to create such a determination in him that he will lead not one or two, but all beings from this world into Nirvana. And yet, although innumerable beings have thus been led to Nirvana, no being at all has been led to Nirvana. And why? If in a bodhisattva the notion of a being should take place, he could not be called a bodhi being. And why? He is not to be called a bodhi being in whom the notion of a self or of a being should take place, or the notion of a living soul or a person. What Buddha says here is this: all the beings have to be led to the other soul, and still, Subhuti has to remember that their miseries are false, so their remedies are also false. And he has to remember that they have no selves, neither does he have any self. So he says, don't forget, don't think that you are helping people, that you are a great helper, otherwise you will fall again. Again you will grow roots in this soul. Because a bodhisattva who gives a gift should not be supported by a thing, nor should he be supported anywhere. The support means motive. The support means that I will be getting something out of it. Then you have missed the whole point. Then it is a bargain. Then it is no more a gift. And Nirvana can only be a gift. It cannot be a bargain. It is not business. You have to give it for the sheer joy of giving it. You should not carry any motive to gain anything out of it. If you are carrying any motive to gain anything out of it, you cannot help anybody. In fact, you yourself still need help. You are not liberated yet. You can misguide, but you cannot guide. The great being who should give gifts in such a way that he is not supported by the notion of a sign. He will not think this is a gift, and he will not think that I am the giver and you are the recipient. No. All these ideas and notions should be dropped. There is no giver, no gift, no recipient. It is all oneness. The one you are helping is also you. The one you are giving to is another form of you, as if you are giving from the left hand to the right hand. There is no need to feel great about it. There is no giver, there is no receiver, and there is no gift. A bodhisattva should not dwell anywhere when he practices giving. In other words, he should not be attached when he gives. If he is able to free himself from attachment, he has understood that the substance of the three wheels composed of one who gives, one who receives, and that which is given is empty. If your act of giving carries with it the thought that I have practiced giving and I have done many meritorious and virtuous deeds, or if you are aware of the receiver or the goods given, then you have not left the mark of giving. You should give and be as if you had not given. If you attach to the marks of the six sense objects, forms, sounds, smells, tastes, tangible objects, and mental dharmas, when giving, your merit and virtue are limited. And why? Because the heap of merit of that bodhi being who unsupported gives a gift is not easy to measure. If you are not attached to the mark of giving, you acquire limitless merit and virtue, even by giving as little as a single cent. If you fail to practice the proper method of giving, then although you may give gifts throughout your lifetime, you will still have accomplished nothing. The Lord continued, "What do you think, Subhuti? Can the Tathagata be seen in the possession of his marks?" Buddha asked, "Subhuti, is a Tathagata to be seen by the possession of his marks?" Buddhist scriptures say that Buddha has 32 marks of being a supreme divine being. Those 32 marks, are they to be deciding factor? For ordinary human beings, it is okay, because you don't have any other eyes. You can see only the outward sign. You live by signs, marks. But for a man like Subhuti, who can see inward, who can see in the Buddha, those marks should not be any more relevant. And moreover, to possess anything is not the quality of a Buddha, not even those 32 marks. They are irrelevant. Subhuti replied, "No indeed, O Lord, and why? What has been taught by the Tathagata as the possession of marks, that is truly a no possession of no marks. The Lord said, wherever there is possession of marks, there is fraud. Wherever there is no possession of no marks, there is no fraud. Hence, the Tathagata is to be seen from no marks as marks." Now, because Subhuti understood the principle of emptiness, and because he had awakened to that emptiness of people and the emptiness of dharmas, he said, "No, one should not rely on physical marks to see the Tathagata." And why? The 32 marks and 8 subtle characteristics of which the Tathagata speaks are marks of the physical body, not of the true real dharma body. So Buddha says, if somebody claims, "I possess these marks of Buddha, look, I am a Buddha," then there is fraud, because because the very claim is proof of fraud. Subhuti asked, will there be any beings in the future period, in the last time, in the last epoch, in the last 500 years, at the time of the collapse of the good doctrine, who, when these words of the sutra are being taught, will understand their truth? Subhuti said, is it possible that living beings will hear this sutra which the Buddha has spoken and will actually believe it? What he was really asking Buddha was, is it the case that they will not believe it? Buddha has said that whenever a religion is born, whenever a Buddha turns the wheel of Dhamma, naturally, slowly and slowly, the wheel starts stopping. It loses momentum. When a Buddha moves the wheel of Dhamma, it takes 2500 years for it to stop completely. After each 500 years, it goes on losing momentum. So those are the 5 ages of the Dhamma. The first period of 500 years is called a period strong in liberation. It constitutes the time when the Buddha is in the world and many people certify to the way and attain liberation. The second 500 years is called the period strong in Dhyana Samadhi. That period follows the Buddha extinction and is a time when many people gain certification through the cultivation of Dhyana Samadhi. The third 500 years is called the period strong in learning. During that time, many people investigate sutras. The fourth 500 years is the period strong in fighting. That is the period referred to in the text, the present Dharma, ending age. And now we are in the last stage, the last 500 years of the 2500 years of Dhamma. The Lord replied, do not speak thus, Subhuti. Yes, even then there will be beings who, when these words of the sutra are being taught, will understand their truth. For even at that time, Subhuti, there will be bodhisattvas. The Buddha immediately admonished Subhuti for even suggesting such a possibility and said that even in the last 500 years, beings would believe in the sutra. And these bodhisattvas, Subhuti, will not be such as have honored only one single Buddha, nor such have planted their roots of merit under one single Buddha only. On the contrary, Subhuti, those bodhisattvas who, when these words of the sutra are being taught, will find even one single thought of serene faith, be such as have honored many hundreds of thousands of Buddhas, such as have planted their roots of merit under many hundreds of thousands of Buddhas, known they are Subhuti to the Tathagata through his Buddha cognition, seen they are Subhuti by the Tathagata with the Buddha eye, fully known they are Subhuti to the Tathagata, and they all Subhuti will beget and acquire an immense and incalculable heap of merit. Buddha said, there will be people in the last 500 years who believe and maintain the precepts and cultivate blessings. They will believe the Vajra Sutra and accept its principle as true, actual and not false. Such people will have planted good roots for limitless kalpas or yugas by making offering to and showing respect for believing in the triple jewel, the Buddha, the Dharma and the Sangha. And why? Because Subhuti, in these bodhisattvas, no perception of a self takes place, no perception of a being, no perception of a soul, no perception of a person, nor do these bodhisattvas have a perception of a dharma, a perception of a no dharma, or no perception, or non-perception takes place in them. These 8 things are known as the 8 barriers of wisdom. When all of these 8 barriers have disappeared, a person is bodhisattva. He is the one who has crossed these 8 barriers of wrong attitudes, of wrong approaches towards life. Dharma means the positive element in life, and no dharma means the negative element in life. The positive and negative, Buddha says, even these are not true, they disappear. A perception of a dharma does not take place. You don't come upon a positive reality inside, neither do you come upon a negative reality inside. You simply come upon a total nothingness. And why? If Subhuti, these bodhisattvas, should have a perception of either a dharma or a no dharma, they would thereby seize on a self, on a being, on a soul, on a person. And why? Because a bodhisattva should not seize on either a dharma or a no dharma. Therefore, this saying has been taught by the Tathagata with a hidden meaning, by those who know the discourse on dharma as like unto a raft. Dharmas should be forsaken, still more so, no dharmas. The raft is used to cross the sea of suffering, birth and death. Before you have ended birth and death, you use the raft in cultivation. Once you have ended birth and death, you should put the raft aside. If you do not put the raft aside, you have an attachment. If you do not put dharma aside, you have an attachment. Attachment to dharmas infects one like a disease. Using the dharma, which teaches the emptiness of dharmas as medicine, the disease can be cured. Once cured, if a person fails to realize he is well and continues to take medicine, then he develops a senseless attachment to the medicine, and that amounts to yet another sickness. Buddha says, just so when this medicine called emptiness has brought about a cure of the disease of the belief in existence, attachment to emptiness is a disease as much as attachment to existence. Those who continue to use this medicine of emptiness after they have gained possession of health only make themselves ill again. Those who have realized the emptiness of people and the emptiness of dharmas must also relinquish attachment to the non-existence of dharmas. The marks of dharmas should be cast aside. When one has ended birth and death, one should put the dharmas aside. People and dharmas are empty. The Lord asked, "What do you think, Subhuti? Is there any dharma which the Tathagata has fully known as the utmost right and perfect enlightenment? Or is there any dharma which the Tathagata has demonstrated?" Subhuti replied, "No, not as I understand what the Lord has said." "And why? This dharma which the Tathagata has fully known or demonstrated, it cannot be grasped, it cannot be talked about. It is neither a dharma nor a no dharma. And why? Because an absolute exalts the holy persons." When Buddha asked his disciple Subhuti that whether Buddha has attained the truth, the ultimate dharma, to this Subhuti says, "No, you have not attained anything, because there is nothing to attain, if I understand you rightly. And how can you demonstrate that something which is beyond something is beyond nothing too? How can you demonstrate it? There is no way to grasp it, and no way to say it, because it is neither positive nor negative. Language is capable only of catching hold of the positive and negative. That which transcends both is not graspable. The absolute means the beyond, the transcendental, that which is beyond hate and love, that which is beyond life and death, that which is beyond day and night, and that which is beyond man and woman, beyond hell and heaven, that which is beyond all dualities, that is the absolute. And the absolute exalts the holy person." The Lord then said, "Yes, Subhuti, for the Tathagata has taught that the dharmas special to the Buddhas are not just the Buddha's special dharmas. That is why they are called the dharmas special to the Buddhas." What are the dharmas of the Buddhas? The special characteristic of a Buddha. His special characteristic is that he has no characteristics, that he is utterly ordinary. Buddha's dharma, his unique quality, is that he is not, that he has no attributes, that he is indefinable. That whatsoever definition you put upon him will be unjust, because it will demark him, it will limit him, and he is not limited. He is pure void, he is nobody. The Lord asked, "What do you think, Subhuti? Does it occur to the stream winner? By me has the fruit of a stream winner been attained?" Buddha has talked about 4 stages of the seeker. The first, he calls the stream winner. The second stage is called once returner, and the third, never returner, and lastly the fourth, Arahat. Stream winner means one who has entered into the Buddha field. He is no more standing on the shore. He is no more static. He has started moving with the stream of life. He is no more fighting with the river. That ego which used to fight with the river and that ego that used to go upstream is no longer there. Buddha says that a few things have to be dropped by the stream winner. One is ego. The second is living by mere rules and rituals. And the third is doubt, perplexity. These 3 things have to be dropped by a stream winner. Then the second stage is called once returner. Once returner means one who will die and come once more. he has to forsake greed, sensuality and ill will, but he will come once more. The third stage is called never returning, one who will not come again. He has to forsake lust for life, lust for the other life, lust to be. And the fourth stage is called the state of Arahat, one who is absent, nobody, nothingness. He has become the Buddha. The Lord asked, "What do you think, Subhuti? Does it occur to the stream winner, by me has the fruit of a stream winner been attained?" Subhuti replied, "No indeed, O Lord. And why? Because, O Lord, he has not won any dharma. Therefore, he is called a stream winner. No sight object has been won. No sounds, smells, taste, touchables, or object of mind. That is why he is called a stream winner. If, O Lord, it would occur to a stream winner, by me has a stream winner's fruit been attained, then that would be in him a seizing on a self, seizing on a being, seizing on a soul, seizing on a person." Buddha asked Subhuti if the stream winner can have the thought that he has obtained the fruit of Srotapana, or the one who has entered the flow. To this Subhuti replied that the stream winner could not have such a thought. Although he is called one who has entered the flow, he has not entered anything. He can see form and not be confused. He can perceive sounds, smells, taste, tangible objects and dharmas and not be attached to any of them. Because he is not attached, he is given the title one of the first fruit, or one who has entered the flow. Nevertheless, that is merely a name, not an actual substance. Therefore, stream winner cannot think that he has obtained the fruit of Srotapana. He has not won anything like an object. In fact, rather than winning anything, he has dropped the very idea of winning. That's why he is called a stream winner. The Lord asked, "What do you think, Subhuti? Does it then occur to the Arhat, by me has Arhatship been attained?" Subhuti says, "No indeed, O Lord. And why? Because no dharmas is called Arhat. That is why he is called an Arhat." Subhuti was asked if an Arhat can have the thought that he has obtained Arhatship, and he replied, "No, because although he has certified to the fruit of Arhatship, it is just a name and nothing more. Not only upon certification to the fruit of Arhatship is there no realization, but even upon attainment of Buddhahood, there is none. There is no tangible dharma that can be called Arhat. It is an empty name. If one thinks it exists, one has an attachment to dharmas and has not realized the emptiness of dharmas. And why? I am, O Lord, the one whom the Tathagata has pointed out as the foremost of those who dwell in peace." Now Subhuti takes himself as an example. He says, "You have declared of me that I have attained. You have declared of me that I have become an Arhat. You have declared that I have dwelled in peace." This is a special way of Buddha saying that there is nobody inside. Dwelling in peace means there is nobody. Because if there is somebody, peace is not possible. If there is somebody, some turmoil will continue. The house is silent only when there is nobody in the house. Even if somebody is there, a little bit turmoil will continue. I am, O Lord, the one whom the Tathagata has pointed out as the foremost of those who dwell in peace. I am, O Lord, an Arhat free from greed. And yet, O Lord, it does not occur to me. An Arhat am I and free from greed. If, O Lord, it could occur to me that I have attained Arhatship, then the Tathagata would not have declared of me that Subhuti, this son of good family, who is the foremost of those who dwell in peace, does not dwell anywhere. That is why he is called a dweller in peace, a dweller in peace. Subhuti says, "You have declared that Subhuti dwells in peace. You have declared that Subhuti has become an Arhat, and you must be true, Lord. How can you be untrue? But I cannot say, it does not occur to me. An Arhat am I and free from greed. If it occurs to me, then you are wrong. If it occurs to me that I am an Arhat, then ego has arisen. Then a self is seized. Then again, I am caught in the whole trap. If it arises in me that I dwell in peace, then the peace is lost because the I has come back. The dweller is back. Then you cannot dwell in peace. Then something is bound to happen. Some misery, some dream, some desire, and the whole world starts again. This is why Buddha is so paradoxical. He says, you are only when you are not. When all is absent, there is great presence. When the ego has completely disappeared, you are the whole, you are the all. You disappear as the drop and you become the ocean. On one side, you have disappeared, and on the other side, you have appeared for the first time. The Lord asked, what do you think, Subhuti? Is there any dharma which the Tathagata has learned from Dipankara? Now Dipankara is an ancient Buddha. Gautama Buddha, in his past life, when he was not enlightened, had gone to Dipankara. He wanted to be accepted as a disciple, but Dipankara laughed and he said, there is nothing to be learned. Truth cannot be learned. Subhuti replied, not so, O Lord, there is not. The Lord said, if any bodhisattva would say, I will create harmonious Buddha field, he would speak falsely. And why? The harmonies of Buddha field, Subhuti, as no harmonies have they been taught by the Tathagata. Therefore he spoke of harmonious Buddha fields. Buddha field means a situation where your sleeping Buddha can be awakened. Now Buddha says that those who speak of creating a harmonious Buddha fields are false, because harmony means conflict is still alive. Harmony means the conflicting parts are there, but they are no longer conflicting. Buddha says real harmony is when the conflicting parts have dissolved into one unity. But then you cannot call it harmony, because harmony needs many. Harmony means that there are many fragments in a harmonious whole. Buddha says the real harmony is when those many are no longer there. They have become one. So a harmony, a real harmony, cannot even be called a harmony. The real harmony is simply unity. There is no conflict and no friction, because all the fragmentary parts have disappeared, dissolved. The Lord said, and again, Subhuti, suppose a woman and a man were to renounce all their belongings as many times as there are grains of sand in the river Ganges, and suppose that someone else, after taking from this discourse on Dhamma but one stanza of 4 lines, would demonstrate it to others, then this latter on the strength of that would beget a greater heap of merit, immeasurable and incalculable. Buddha says that even if somebody demonstrates one stanza of 4 lines from the Diamond Sutra, his merit is more. His merit is immeasurable and incalculable, more than the merit of a man or a woman who were to renounce their belongings as many times as there are grains of sand in the river Ganga. Thereupon, the impact of Dhamma moved the venerable Subhuti to tears. Having shed tears, he thus spoke to the Lord. It is wonderful, O Lord, it is exceedingly wonderful. O well gone, how well the Tathagata has taught this discourse on Dhamma. Through it, cognition has been produced in me, and it is indeed no perception. And why? Because the Buddhas, the Lords, have left all perceptions behind. On receiving the Dhamma from the Buddha, Subhuti was overwhelmed with compassion, and tears poured down from his eyes. Then he says to Buddha, your presence, your compassionate words, your love, your grace has produced cognition in me. It has given me an insight, a vision of what truth is. But then he also adds, it is no perception, because there is nobody to perceive it. It is pure cognition. Knowing has arisen, but the division is not there between the knower and the known and the known. It is just knowing. And he says, now I know why it is said that the Buddhas have left all perception behind. Because perception needs the perceiver and the perceived. Observation needs the observer and the observed. All these dualities have been dropped. There is only oneness. The Lord said, so it is, Subhuti, most wonderfully blessed will be those beings who, on hearing this sutra, will not tremble, nor be frightened or terrified. These sutras are death-like. They are crucifixions. You will have to die. Only through death will you know what life is. Resurrection is possible, but only through crucifixion. That's why Buddha said, these sutras are dangerous, and those who are not terrified of these sutras will attain Nirvana. Moreover, Subhuti, the Tathagata's perfection of patience is really no perfection. And why? Because, Subhuti, when the king of Kalinga cut my flesh from every limb, at that time I had no perception of a self, of a being, of a soul or a person. And why? If Subhuti at that time I had had a perception of self, I would also have had a perception of ill will at that time. Now Buddha reminds Subhuti of his whole experience of a past life when the king of Kalinga had cut his limbs. He says, at that time when my limbs were cut, my hands were cut, my legs were cut, and my tongue and my eyes were taken out, I was watching and I could not see any I arising in me. There was nobody who was seeing it. There was nobody who was hurt by it. If any perception of I had arisen at that time, then it would have been followed by ill will. Then I would have been angry with the king who was killing me and destroying me. But I was not angry. There was no anger. The ego brings anger. Anger is the shadow of the ego. Ego brings aggression, violence. Once the ego disappears, all violence disappears. A man becomes love only when the ego has completely disappeared. And further, Subhuti, it is for the well of all beings that a bodhisattva should give gifts in this manner. And why? This perception of a being, Subhuti, that is just a non-perception. Those all beings of whom the Tathagata has spoken, they are indeed no beings. And why? Because the Tathagata speaks in accordance with reality, speaks the truth, speaks of what is, not otherwise. A Tathagata does not speak falsely. Tathagata Subhuti is synonymous with true suchness. Buddha says, I have said only that which is yatha bhutam. I have not said anything else. That's why my statements are so paradoxical, so illogical, because the truth is illogical. To understand truth, you will have to drop logic. The word suchness is of immense importance in Buddha's approach towards reality. The word suchness is as important in Buddhism as God is in other religions. The Buddhist word for suchness is tathata. It means seeing things as such, not taking any attitude, not making any opinion, not judging or condemning it. And this is what Buddha means when he says a Tathagata is synonymous with true suchness. That is, he does not make any judgment or take any attitude towards the truth. He sees the truth as it is, in its suchness. The Lord asked, what do you think, Subhuti? Does it occur to the Tathagata, by me has Dharma been demonstrated? It cannot occur to a Tathagata because there is no more a person inside. Personality is a form of the mind. The idea of I is a form in the clouds. To a Tathagata, clouds have disappeared. There is only pure sky, indefinable, infinite. There arises no idea of I. Whosoever Subhuti would say that the Tathagata has demonstrated Dharma, he would speak falsely. He would misrepresent me by seizing on what is not there. And why? Because not even the least Dharma is there found or got at. Therefore it is called utmost, right, and perfect enlightenment. Someone who says that the Tathagata has spoken Dharma thereby slanders the Buddha. Such a person does not understand the Buddha Dharma. And someone who makes that statement has not thoroughly understood that the Dharma the Buddha spoke is without any real substance. Dharma is spoken because living beings make discrimination. If you made no discrimination, there would be no Dharma to speak. And hence the Buddha says that there is no Dharma to be found or taught. And so, this is the perfect enlightenment. Furthermore, Subhuti, self-identical is that Dharma, and nothing is therein at variance. Therefore it is called utmost, right, and perfect enlightenment. Self-identical through the absence of a self, a being, a soul, or a person. The utmost, right, and perfect enlightenment is fully known as the totality of all the wholesome dharmas. Buddha says that self-identical is that dharma where there is nothing and hence changes nothing. All forms have disappeared. That's why the sky remains identical to itself. There are no longer any forms arising, disappearing, no longer any change, no movement. All dreams have disappeared. And so, it is the perfect enlightenment. What do you think, Subhuti? Does it occur to a Tathagata, by me have beings been set free? Not thus should you see, Subhuti. And why? There is not any being whom the Tathagata has set free. This idea can never occur in a Tathagata, that I have set many beings free. How can it? Because in the first place, nobody is unfree. So if you ask, is Buddha a savior? Buddha will say, no, I am not a savior. Because nobody needs to be saved. There is nobody to be saved. And freedom is everybody's nature. Freedom is there. It need not to be bought. One has just to become alert of what is already there. Further, the Lord taught on that occasion the following stanzas. Those who by my form did see me, and those who followed me by voice, wrong the efforts they engage in. Me, those people will not see. Further, Buddha says that if you see him as the form, as the body, then you miss. If you only hear the word of the Buddha and don't hear his silence, you miss. If you see only his face and you don't see his inner sky, you miss. Buddha speaks only to utter silence. Buddha is there in the form only to express the formless. From the Dharma should one see the Buddhas. From the Dharma bodies comes their guidance. Yet Dharma's true nature cannot be discerned, and no one can be conscious of it as an object. This is saying in words that which cannot be said. Avashya, unspeakable. Buddha is saying, from where comes the Buddha's guidance? Not from himself, but from the eternal. Buddha is just the passage, the eternal floats through. Do not be too much obsessed by the words that he uses. Listen to his silence. Do not be too much concerned by the body he lives in. Don't be concerned with the house in which he resides. Think of the inner presence. Think of his being. See deep. And how to see deep in a Buddha? The only way to see deep in a Buddha is not with open eyes, but with closed eyes. To see deep into yourself is the only way to see deep into a Buddha. If you become acquainted with your own inner sky, you will be acquainted with the Buddhas, all the Buddhas of all the ages, past, present, and future too. Descend into your own being. Whosoever says that the Tathagata goes or comes, stands, sits, or lies down, he does not understand the meaning of my teaching. And why? Tathagata is called one who has not gone anywhere, nor come from anywhere. Therefore is he called the Tathagata, the Arahat, the fully enlightened. Buddha is saying, don't be too much concerned with the words. Use them as stepping stones. Don't be too much concerned with Buddha's movements, bodily movements. People are there, imitative people, who will start walking like the Buddha, who will start talking like the Buddha, who will start using the same words, the same gestures. Buddha is saying, those are not the real things. The real thing is beyond forms. It cannot be imitated. Who is called the fully enlightened one? One who has come to know the sky that never moves. One who has come to know the eternal, which is beyond time. One who has come to know truth. When clouds come, do you think the sky has gone somewhere? When the clouds go, do you think the sky has come? The sky remains. Your innermost nature remains.